kind of deep. What do you think? Well, there we have it, folks. Another good go around with my 2006 Skidoo Skandic super wide track, 24-inch wide track, and that makes all the difference. Now, in behind it, I had my trail groomer. This is a homemade unit. I didn't make it, but I bought it relatively cheap, and well, someone gets the hats off because they built it and did a really good job doing so. I'm going to give you some dimensions on this unit. Let's flip it up though, first and foremost. And you can get a good look at it. So really it's just probably some old steel someone had lying around, and then they broke out the welder and went to town. I end up bending a few pieces here and there, especially when the snow gets real low. But overall, even bouncing off a few things, it's in real good shape. You can see here we've got angle iron pieces here. And then along the edge we've got some round bar. At the back we have this piece which puts that finish on the trail. You can see it's super smooth. I could probably fix some of this little bends and bows and that here and there to make it even better, but it's doing a really good job. Certainly for the $5 I paid for it, it's worth its weight. Now, a few other things you'll notice here. There is some design to it, and I'm no expert on what the proper design is, but I'll at least show you what they did. So the back, here's where we have the flat piece, and mounted to it, looks like they got a little piece of angle right there, probably so it doesn't flex. And they just took that flat piece, and at the front they bent it up a bit, I'm assuming, so the snow will ride under it. In front of it we've got two horizontal angles, and then a little bit further up we have another horizontal, and then we've got these 45-degree angles here, and then right in front of it, that's exactly the same thing that's going on there. Now up front we've got one more angle piece. And then if you're looking at this right here, don't laugh. I bent this at one point. I think I was trying to dig it out of the snow with the tractor, and I must have bumped it, not seeing it. I ended up just putting this on because when I re-welded this, after it broke off, I just didn't want it to break off at the same point. So I threw together whatever I had. Up front here, the steel sort of bends up. You can see that looks like a piece of rebar they put together there. And then we've just got a hinge point here. And then we've got some smaller angle here. And this is kind of an ingenious setup here. The person put together. So you can see they put it on a spring. This rod goes all the way through this piece of round bar here. And then it comes up to the bracket, which will mount to the Skidoo. And this allows you, I suppose, with that spring, although it's a bit stiff, there we go. It allows it to take some of that jolt out of it. Now, one thing that I did, I built this little contraption here. You see it there? And that just allows me to hook not only this trail groomer, but my other sleigh to the snowmobile. I don't have a proper connection that goes over there, so I put that together. Now, I just use a light piece of wire here to connect the trail groomer to my little contraption there. And that's just in case I ever hook it on something that's firm. I don't want to have a solid bolt there because I'll end up getting hurt, pull the back end of my machine apart. So I put this wire here, and so my hope is if I ever hit anything, that wire will shear off and then I can not get hurt. Now, as I promised, I'll give you some dimensions just in case you're going to put one of these together yourself. And so total width here, we're looking at about 38 inches, I'd say. Total length from that rebar back here, I'd say that's 129 inches. This section here, you're looking at about 21 inches. And this flat piece at the back, keep in mind it's angled a little bit. That looks to be they probably started with an 8-inch piece of flat steel there, and then they bent the front up, and away they went. So that's the unit. If you're going to build one, it's certainly pretty simple. Mind you, steel isn't cheap anymore, so if you go to buy this, it probably won't be the $5 purchase that I made, but I'm quite happy with it. And you know, assuming you're going to go out and groom your trails, you're going to get a treat because this looks real good, and it certainly knocks down all the high spots. So when you come along again with a tow behind sleigh or the snowmobiles again, you're not hitting any bumps. Now, in my case, I'm using this contraption and it works really well. But before I found this on Marketplace, I used to just have a rope attached to a pallet, a wooden pallet, and I used to drive around with that, and that worked pretty good. The only downside is it got pretty heavy. Snow would pack into the pallet, then it would freeze, and then what would happen is you're towing all that weight. This, on the other hand, the snow gets cut with all this rebar, and then it gets smoothed out, but it's not actually dragging any snow with it, and so you don't really get bogged down. This steel here isn't all that heavy, but it's heavy enough that it can ride along nicely without bouncing. Before that, though, before the pallet, I actually got ideas that I was going to use an old, what do they call it, box spring. Now, I originally planned on doing that, then the pallet came in, so I used the pallet, but a box spring I think would do a good job as well. I've heard people mention before that they would just tow that behind a snow machine, and that would knock down the high spots and fill in the low spots. I've also heard people before, and I tried it, I tied together 3 tires in almost like a triangle, and then I hooked that to the back of the snow machine with a rope. That worked really well as well. Knocked down all the high spots, filled in the low spots. The only trouble is it packed with snow, froze, it was very heavy. And so unless you had a machine like this, my other machine would just dig a trench to try to get that weight going. And if I tried going up a hill and I wasn't going fast enough, well, I'd pretty well get stuck. So this thing is the ultimate, but obviously there's other options out there. Anyways, folks, if you're interested in learning more about my setup here, my snowmobile, be sure to check out my playlist for my snow machines. I've got 2 of them currently, used to have 3. This right here, 2006 Skidoo Skandic, as I mentioned. I bought this thing in a bit of a rough condition, fixed it up to what you see here. I also have a 2003 Skidoo Grand Touring, same engine, 550 fan, 2-stroke. That's a good unit. The only difference is this thing is all about the work. The other thing's got a few more creature comforts. So folks, that's going to do it for me here today. I'm going to continue on my way. As you can tell, the snow never really stops around here. And so I might as well keep grooming, because truth be told, I'll be back out here again in 24 hours with the fresh snow. So that's going to do it for me here today. If you like this video, make sure you give it the old like-a-roo. Don't forget to subscribe, and hopefully I see you next time.